Well, what I'll say is that unlike pizza, this one isn't so cheesy. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going over a movie I'm a little late to talk about, Licorice Pizza, and the discussion on this one should be fun. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about Licorice Pizza. This is the story of Alana, Kane, and Gary Valentine growing up, running around, and going through the treacherous navigation of first love in the 1970s. This is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it sees him doing something a little different, yet still be in his comfort zone at the same time. I've always loved Anderson's work. He's one of my all-time favorite directors, and a big reason for that is how he manages to gracefully capture such emotional material while also presenting it through a somewhat humorous lens. Now, while he generally captures a wide range of emotions, typically most of his works tread down some darker paths. Movies like There Will Be Blood, The Master, and his first film, Hard 8, definitely fall under that category, while even films that present themselves as initially being something quirky and charismatic, like Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love, or the absolutely weird Inherent Vice, often reveal at least some underlying darker subplots, even if not as prevalent in some instances. But Licorice Pizza is the first film of his that I describe as being almost completely lighthearted. Sure, there are conflicts and challenges our characters face, but it's all much smaller in scale than anything else he's tackled before. This is first and foremost a coming-of-age movie, where many of the issues our characters experience are inconvenient, but nothing earth-shattering or necessarily life-altering. Now, there are a couple of moments where things would get a bit intense, but that was never the general tone this film looked to go for. A lot of it involved our characters finding themselves and seeing where their niche is. We'll see this with Gary, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman's son Cooper Hoffman, trying to be this entrepreneur, attempting to start up a number of his own companies in various industries, with the wheels in his head constantly turning for what the next big thing is when one fails. And it's also about maturity, and sometimes the challenges we face when it comes time where we need to grow up. And you see that with Alana, played by Alana Haim, who also goes from various jobs and has these struggling romances, and always feels out of place with whatever she does, especially when pressured by her family, and it sometimes leads to heated arguments. But where that doesn't happen for her is when she hangs around Gary, who's 10 years younger than her and still in high school. And despite the fact she's supposed to be moving forward with her life and feels this looming pressure, she almost finds herself regressing as she constantly hangs around with Gary and his friends, which is something she even remarks as weird at one point in the film. And even though there's a clear connection with them, most of their adventures evolve around Alana mainly being there to help Gary on his next business venture, since he needs an adult with him. And I guess we'll just get this out of the way. I know the fact they're 10 years apart has caused some people to be turned off by this, and it completely tanks the movie for them, and I totally get where people are coming from when I hear people say they can't enjoy the rest of the film because of that. Now, I will admit there are times I felt uncomfortable. I also just think that the connection between them partially played into these themes about emotional immaturity and struggling to grow up. And for the most part, I thought that was handled delicately without condoning anything. And both Hoffman and Haim were absolutely wonderful here. This is the feature debut for both of them, but they both have the charisma and presence of people who've been in the industry for years. Their chemistry is absolutely fantastic, and you can totally buy into this friendship they form, despite being at two totally different stages of their lives. Haim in particular is electrifying here, with a great wit about her that leads to a lot of very funny moments, while also perfectly capturing that sense of dread one may feel when they feel lost or totally aimless in life. Like the way she argues with her dad over who she should be seeing, or when she's navigating her way through a new job. She was wonderful in all that, and I can't wait to see where she pops up next. And speaking of laughs, this is by far the funniest of PTA's films. Like I said, his films always injected some humor, with some treading dark comedy territory, but this one's the most straight up comedic of his work, where he just wants you to laugh and almost nothing more. Anderson's one of those directors who's excellent at crafting sharp, original, refreshing dialogue, and he uses it to throw in so many great throwaway jokes and one-liners that I found laugh out loud hilarious. Now, there are a few jokes that don't quite land, in particular with one recurring side character who pops up during some of our lead's business ventures that I think was really not called for. But for the most part, I thought a lot of the banter was excellent here, and it managed to get a lot of good laughs while also feeling fresh and original. And when it comes to the story, it's worth noting that there isn't exactly much of a plot here, at least not in the traditional way. There isn't one particular obstacle our characters are looking to overcome. It's more of a breezy, slice-of-life film chronicling various moments in these characters' journeys, some of which could be rearranged and you'd still have the same effect. And for some, that might be another slight turnoff, for those who prefer seeing something with a clear beginning, middle, and end. And it does cause the film to slightly meander at points, especially given how a big theme of the movie is feeling this sense of aimlessness, so there are times the film tries to convey that where we're not sure what's next for our characters, and it might cause a slight pacing issue here and there. But for the most part, despite the film being made up more of moments, it's frequently and consistently engaging, thanks to Anderson's direction, its infectious soundtrack, and the energy of our two leads. Plus, there's a slew of cameos along the way who make things considerably more fun, from Sean Penn to Mary Elizabeth Ellis to Maya Rudolph to Benny Safdie and many others. Though my absolute favorite was Bradley Cooper as John Peters, for whom Gary and Alana are supposed to deliver a waterbed to, which leads to heated tensions and one of the most over-the-top altercations in the film, as the two try evading him in a truck all through his neighborhood. It's one of the few moments in the film that was way more on the tense side, as I mentioned earlier, but this was an absolute blast, and it's not tonally inconsistent with anything else we got before that or afterwards. And it's a shame that this is the only sequence Cooper was in, as he clearly just has a ball with the role. And fun would be one of the best ways to describe this. Now, while it has everything else that goes into making a compelling film, like characters we want to root for and emotional drama, it's still relatively low stakes compared to what we're looking for in a film. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. Not every film needs to be the most groundbreaking or have the most earth-shattering consequences in order to be great. Sometimes all it takes is something simple and light, and that's what this film is. And I gotta give PTA a lot of credit, as he made yet another film that's another win in his rock-solid filmography, giving us something completely engaging while still keeping the tone mostly whimsical and charming, something that's not necessarily in his usual wheelhouse. And the fact that he's able to switch gears the way he does, and it's just as endearing as a lot of his earlier works, is a great sign as to why he's one of the best. Licorice Pizza isn't a film that's necessarily heavy on plot, but it makes up for it with a lot of charm, wit, and likability. It's a coming-of-age drama that nicely touches upon themes about finding yourself despite feeling emotionally immature, while still keeping things mostly light and offering a lot of laughs along the way. While a lot of the film can be rearranged with little effect, it mostly doesn't matter, as it's consistently engaging the entire time. With a lot of fun cameos, an excellent soundtrack, solid direction, and 2 knockout lead performances, this is another win for Paul Thomas Anderson. Licorice Pizza gets a 9 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Licorice Pizza, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Was this one of your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movies? Do you have a favorite movie from the 1970s? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.